Hi, welcome to the Chappaqua Library Board of Trustees. Emergency exits are to our left and our right, your left and your right, and we're going to stand for the for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Okay. May I have a motion to enter executive session to discuss some financial matters?
Second.
Okay. Can I take a vote?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's go.
You have to make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to re-enter the board meeting at 7:23. Do I have a second?
Hey, Robin.
Okay. All in favor, a vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Aye.
all in favor. All right. Amy? Hi. Are there anybody online? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, moving down, we have the minutes. We need to, Jennifer, can I ask you to make the motion to approve the minutes from February, please?
Yes, I move that the board approve the minutes of the February 10th, 2025 regular meeting as drafted. Do I have a second?
Second.
George,
Okay, George.
any discussion? No. All
Are we
in
with it?
favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Thank you. Moving down to treasurer's report.
Yes. Okay, so I received the treasurer's report for January and February of 2025. Nothing out of the ordinary. Everything is pretty much consistent with what we've had in the past. But for January and February, we did see a significant uptick in our fuel costs, which at this point may lead us to exceed our budget for the year. We have, as of this report, we still had March, April, May, and June. And in February, we have about just under $7,000 left. So if we're looking at, $2,000 a month, that would put us over our budget come the end of June.
George, that's just for petroleum costs?
Yes.
It isn't, that's not-
Electricity is separate,
It's separate, okay.
right?
Heating oil, right?
Gas.
Natural
Propane,
gas.
Yes.
natural gas.
Yeah.
And that was it. There was nothing else remarkable,
Okay.
which is a good thing. So can I make a motion? I move the board approve the January 2025 and February 2025 treasurer's report prepared by Naraki Smith, including the bills as presented. Second?
Second. I think do we have to treat them as two different votes? Or can
Probably.
we do one?
Okay.
Okay,
All
we'll
right.
just do one. So,
I move the board approve the January 2025 treasurer's report prepared by Naraki Smith, including the bills as presented. Second? Okay, Brian, any discussion?
nope.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Mhm.
Second motion, I move the board approve the February 2025 treasurer's report prepared by Naraki Smith, including the bills as presented. Second? Jen, any discussion?
Mm-mm.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay. All right, now we're coming to the proposed library budget.
Mhm.
The board's been given an opportunity to look over the proposed budget of 2025-26. Jennifer and I met with the director, and last week we went through it in significant detail, and I move that the board approve the proposed 25-26 Chappaqua Library budget as written. Second.
Yep.
Any
So
discussion?
it's seconded.
Discussion?
Jen, you gave a great sort of lead-in discussion to the bigger issues surrounding the budget. Can you do so for this forum
Sure.
as well?
Well, first I want to acknowledge the great work that Marge Perlin did on this, as well as Robin Friedman's input. They were both enormously helpful, as well as Amy Capelli, our staff assistant. What we did was we went through each of the sections in the budget. So, buildings and maintenance repair, professional fees, fuel, electricity. We went through them because we've been using a template that's probably been used for a while over and over the course of, I don't know how many years. But there were things in there that I didn't recognize, that nobody else seemed to recognize. So we went through, and as a team, we looked at everything. We pulled things out that were no longer relevant to the library the way it's currently being operated. And then we went back to certain sections, particularly professional fees, buildings and maintenance repair, to make sure that we had enough money in those lines. Because right now, the way it looks from the reports from Naraki Smith, we are very overspent in some of those lines. And we really aren't. Like, we are actually, our spending is realistic, but we just didn't have the numbers correct to reflect that. So there was a lot of analyzing, a lot of going over things. And like I said, this was a team effort to try to get it to be as accurate as possible. And I do believe that if it's not right on target, we're very, very close to being what we're going to need for next year. So is that?
And can you speak to, the biggest chunk of our budget is personnel?
Yes.
Can you speak to the decisions that were made and, sort of the major?
Sure. So overall, the library personnel were given a 3% increase. There were a few people where course corrections were required. We've had people on staff who in the last year have taken on much more responsibility than they were expected to before. In the case of some of our library clerks, their salaries were not competitive, so there was a course correction for that. And then in regards to one particular staffer who I believe was underpaid, we made a course correction for that as well. There were not many of these, and it doesn't really equal a lot of money, but it just keeps the playing field level, and it keeps us competitive in order to be able to attract talent now and in the future. So, and I just will also add that our salaries are not. There are libraries that pay less than us, and there are libraries that pay more than us. So we are, I believe, right now, right in line with where we should be.
Well, it was impressive keeping the top line increase to under 3%, and that includes reinstating, allocating some money to the capital reserve. So
Correct.
on an underlying basis, even more impressive.
Correct. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Any other thoughts, discussion?
Regarding the budget?
Okay.
No major benefit modifications?
I'm sorry, no major.
Benefit modifications?
No, aside from the ones I just mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can take a vote. All right.
All in favor of approving the proposed budget, 25, 26? All. Okay, great. All right.
Perfect. The budget will be available online. There'll be hard copies by the circulation desk. And that's it, right? It'll be
We'll
available.
eventually send a postcard.
We'll send a postcard out to okay, perfect. And thank you, George and Jen, for all of your work on this too. Okay. Going to present the slate of officers for this coming year. It's myself as president, vice president is John Harrison, treasurer George Benak, secretary Brian Cook, member at large Jennifer Fahey. The The following committees are assigned as follows: Buildings and Grounds, Pam, myself, and Jennifer Fahey. Members of the Garden Club, Karen Bazak and Melanie Smith, are also part of this committee. Finance, George Benak and Jennifer Fahey. Policies, John Harrison, Brian Cook. Personnel is John Harrison and Brian Cook. Okay, Jennifer.
Okey-doke.
Mhm.
Um,
So we need to vote on
We
that.
had to vote on
Oh.
that.
There was a vote?
We,
Propose to accept the presentation of the slate of officers for the coming year.
okay,
All presented.
okay,
Okay.
yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Cook? All in favor? Oh, discussion.
So for discussion, while not denigrating anyone, I think we've got a tremendous board, very collegial, very focused. And Pam's done an excellent job as president, but I don't think we should be putting forward a president. First of all, this was supposed to happen in January. I don't feel that we should be putting forward a president whose term expires in June or for a second year. There's no precedent for the last decade plus of this not rotating across the board. And as much as I enjoyed the time serving as president, I really hope that someone would voice an interest in stepping up to serve in that regard. I think that that's part and parcel of serving on this board.
So now with 3-year terms, I appreciate your comments. And with 3-year terms, I think the way that things have been rolling out previously, it's just now going to change, that people don't have to cycle through every single position.
Yeah, it's not possible,
Right.
but there should still be change for everyone. I think everyone on the board within the realm of their term of service should be able to experience finance, for example, et cetera. I think that experience is good for all of us.
I hear what you're saying, Jennifer, and I think there's some merit to your point, but I also think that this library this library board, for those people who have been following it over the last 10 years, know that there was a fair amount of turmoil and lack of stability and continuity in this board, which we have thankfully now achieved. And I think that given that reality and that history, it merits having someone of Pam's talent serve for another term. But I think that your point about having everyone have an opportunity to serve as president is well taken. Yeah.
I would just add that I think that there is a learning curve to each of these positions, and to spend time learning that the duties of that office, only to hand it over to somebody after 1 year when you probably just have gotten everything under your, you've gotten under your wings, and to just turn it over, I think that there's some inefficiency in that. Now, maybe it shouldn't go on forever, but I don't see any problem with someone holding that position for 2 years anyway. I think the 1 year term in each one of these positions was, well, I don't know why that was the policy, but I don't think it was necessarily a benefit to the board to have people cycle in and out of each one of these positions after just 1 year.
I think the original plan, George, was that you started year one, and by year 5, you're experienced enough to take over the presidency. I think that was the original intent, and then I think the cycles got all kind of haywired.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
So, yeah, I disagree. I don't think that the change year over year is a bad thing. I also feel that we're acting as if the community doesn't have a voice to put someone in place for what is reality 3 months. Sort of pretends that the vote in May isn't real. And it is. Right? I mean, Pam's voiced her interest in serving again, which is awesome. But it's a vote. And it's a vote by our community. So is it
Changes.
responsible for us
We can
to
pick someone else.
put this position in the hands of someone who's technically here for 3 more months? Doesn't feel responsible to me.
I don't see a lack of fiduciary responsibility about having board positions have, that somebody cycles on for another term. I think that's okay. And the beauty of the way in which governance works in this state is publics get to vote every year on members of the board, and they can decide one way or another whether or not someone's leadership on the board can continue or not. I don't see it as a lack of responsible governance. I just don't.
We're charged under the bylaws with electing the officers for the coming year, January to January. Feels like pretense.
Okay. Okay. All in favor
The
of this,
following committee assignments.
of the following committee assignments and the slate of officers?
Well, I think,
Opposed?
yeah, opposed.
Okay.
For the reasons noted,
Okay,
not because of the individuals
thank you.
who are excellent.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer?
Okay. So I have several things I'd like to discuss. The first would be our notary services. If you look towards the back of your packets, I think it might have been one of the last things that was added. There's a sheet that says important facts about notary and E&O insurance.
Uh-huh, yep.
So we perform a lot of notaries here. And we have 2 people on staff who are wonderful and they do a lot of work. And we had a discussion about perhaps adding more notaries, but it seems that this is not the right time for a variety of reasons to do that. But one of the things that came to light to me in our conversations was that this is actually interfering in some of our daily operational items that need to get done every day. And it is preventing certain people on staff from getting those things done because there are days where they just have notarizations back to back to back to back.
So we're specifically talking about the 2 people who are on
Yes,
staff,
correct.
who have other roles
Correct.
in this library.
Correct.
Okay,
And so, again, had many discussions with a variety of people on staff, and this came to light that the National Notary Association recommends that we have notary insurance. We do not currently have notary insurance with our plan, with Utica Insurance. So I did contact our insurance agent to find out. She told me that we do not have notary coverage right now. They are happy to look into it for a fee.
Mhm.
I did not get an answer about what that fee would be. But I think we need to ask the question, do we want to pursue this? Do we want to pursue notary insurance? Do we want to potentially pull back on our notary services? As of right now, we have pulled back slightly on the availability of one of our notaries because, as I said, it was just getting in the way of her day-to-day responsibilities.
so my understanding
Mhm.
is, having made a notary appointment in the past,
Yeah.
that there are specific times when the notary is available. So is it that people are walking in, people are
Mhm.
not adhering to that, and then just out of kindness, the
Correct.
notaries are they're stopping their job?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. And they don't always stop their job, but frequently enough
okay.
that it's been brought to my attention.
And that's a separate issue from the insurance issue, but just.
Correct.
Okay,
So from now on, and we talked about this in a staff meeting last week, there will be no walk-ins
Mhm.
permitted at all. So,
And it should also be noted that right across the street, the town has a notary, which
Yeah,
I've actually used.
they do it for free.
do they still have a notary?
Yeah.
Because there was some
have a
discussion
couple.
about that.
they have a
Yeah.
couple.
Okay.
Yes, and a year ago, I used the town notary
Okay, that's good to
on a
know.
walk-in basis.
So, so maybe the first, yes,
They have letters and numbers staff
Mhm.
who are also notaries, so they are available when they are available and not when they are not. So people are regularly told at town hall to come here.
okay.
After
So,
they've been turned away at the,
all
yeah,
right.
got it.
So again, before we discuss the insurance issue, I think the first thing that should be done is on the website in big bold should be,
By appointment only.
right, that, you know, that we have to readdress this. And maybe there's some hard copies at this, that the circ, okay. Thank you.
A question I have about notaries too is that my understanding is that an individual holds a notary license as an individual, not as an agent of an organization,
Correct.
Correct.
right? So to some extent, we're asking, if we weren't to go through with this, we're
Mhm.
insuring somebody with district funds to do something that they're actually carrying out, for the most part, as an individual. I mean, it would be as if we were sort of licensing people's cars when they were driving to work, right? I just think there's a complicated question around using taxpayer funds to insure someone who's carrying out a task that in some respects they're doing on a kind of individual level. I also recognize that there's a civic component to this as well. So
The insurance would only respond when they do so as a library employee.
Do these,
meaning sitting inside this building,
So if you went to their house after hours as their friend
I got it.
and they notarized a document for you, that would be uninsured unless they
Right,
have their own
right,
personal insurance.
did the library in any way pay for them to get their notary's license?
I believe they did for one, not for the other.
Okay, are they compensated in any way for doing this task?
No.
Okay, so that's something we need to discuss. I mean, they're doing this out of the goodness of their heart
Mhm.
because they happen to have a notary license, when they are certainly entitled to charge for that service, and they're not.
But we paid for them to get
Not
that.
for everybody.
No, for the one out of two, we paid for it
Okay,
so they could provide that service.
okay, so that's.
And we're
different.
accommodating that as part of their job and time.
So that's
Sounds like we should
incorporated
find out
into
what
their
the
job
insurance costs
description?
if we wanna-
Yes,
I'm sorry.
say that again.
That's incorporated into their job description, their service as notary?
Technically, no.
No, because it
Okay.
wouldn't be in civil
It's,
service.
it's courtesy that we've provided, and and to be fair, a lot of libraries do this, but I've been told by other library directors that they have notaries simply because those people just happen to go out on their own and do it, not because
Right.
the library instructed or requested that they go out and do this.
There are times, though, during the course of the year when the library has to have a document inside of this institution notarized, right? Do we have to ever, as a library, have to notarize something? No,
No.
interesting. So the only reason anyone notarizes something is if they're a private individual coming into the building.
Correct.
Interesting.
Does the town, I'd be curious to know if the town carries this insurance.
That's a good question.
Or the school district
Well, I don't know if the school district, oh, right, because if
school
the school
district
district,
probably has notaries. I'm certain they do.
I'm
Okay.
sure they do.
So
All right.
I can tell you the loss experience for this type of insurance is virtually nil.
okay.
It will not cost much money to add this to our policy.
So then we should certainly
And
look into
I do
it.
think it's an accommodation we should continue.
Okay.
I think that perhaps, to your point, Jen, being firmer on appointments only or during this time frame,
Yeah.
maybe we could coordinate with the town to say, listen, we're going to be firmer
Yeah.
that appointments are required. And if we're accommodating people between hypothetically 1 and 3 p.m., like maybe we can work with the town. Maybe the town does 10 to 12 and we could
Mhm.
cover, I don't know.
Right. No, I mean, I think to your point, at the very least, we should let the town know when we're available to do them, so.
And
Correct.
Not
So-
to send.
Right.
Right, and not just to send
To
people,
beg,
right,
yeah.
I agree with you, like, that we should let them know that they can't just send people here.
And for this employee who's doing the notary out of the goodness of their heart,
Uh-huh,
they should be compensated.
okay.
I mean, if the library's doing the service for free, and he's entitled to charge for it, and they're not, then we should consider compensating them in some way.
Okay.
I don't know that I agree with
Yeah,
that.
I
Mhm.
don't agree with
Feels like
that.
it's slippery slope.
That's,
But do we,
They're-
the
Wait,
goodness
Robin,
of-
they're not entitled?
They're not entitled to it. Bring to the state your $11,000
Uh-huh,
for notary fee. If people need more money than that, because they are allowed to charge associated fee for their travel fee. That's what notary who arranges to come to your house
Mhm,
at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. We charge whatever they want
mhm.
for their willingness to come to our house on Saturday. The
Hmm.
notary service itself, they are actually not allowed to charge.
Right. So if they do 50 of these a year, and we pay them $100, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, I don't know how many they do. You can look into it. I'm not trying to kick the hornet's nest here, but I just feel if someone's doing a service for the community as an agent of the library,
Mhm.
that they should be compensated.
I just think it's a slippery slope because now if I'm a
Yeah.
non-notary librarian, maybe I won't answer your question unless you give me $2.
Right.
I only offer this level of library service. This guy's getting paid.
This
X
isn't
amount.
I agree.
I
I have
just,
that
I just,
same concern.
these are professionals that deserve to be paid.
We could offer them, as we do in some cases, we could offer them a small stipend.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't be part of their salary, it would just be an additional X dollars for doing this. And we've done that
Mhm.
before. I know
Okay.
in the past, department heads were paid a stipend that was above and beyond their salary. So we could do it in,
for being a department head?
correct,
Mhm.
Okay.
correct.
I also would like to just say, is this a solution in search of a problem?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
How big a problem is this?
Well,
And it's a rhetorical question.
yeah, no,
you know.
no, right. I mean, it's enough of, it was enough of a thorn in enough
Okay.
people's sides that I brought it up here and
Okay.
that I looked into the insurance.
Mhm.
Really more as just informational purposes that I wanted to let you know that this
Okay.
is, in case it comes
Sure.
back. But I will look into the insurance and see what they say.
Okay.
So,
I also think stopping town hall from just go to the library, you can get it notarized, will probably have a very positive impact on that flow.
Right. I also, Jen, I do think there are some, I think, for example, our board oaths have to be notarized.
Mhm.
I remember.
did.
When Dina was
Yep.
added, we had a notary
Mhm.
present at the board meeting, remember?
Yeah,
So there are some few library documents.
okay,
that's a good.
that
point.
is news to me because in my previous position, we didn't do that, but okay, I'll look into that.
Your trustees at your previous library didn't need to have, all right,
No.
okay, we did.
No, but it could be that was a different type of library. This is a school district library, so
Maybe.
that could be, but let me look into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was the courtyard update. So we had two different vendors come out to take a look at the courtyard as well as the roof because we need to get new metal stairs on the roof. We have not received any estimates yet, but I just at least wanted to get ideas from these folks to see what they thought. So there's that. And until we have a plan, we cannot open the patio on the courtyard, unfortunately. We are going to be moving the garden beds down from the patio as well as the furniture down to the grassy area so that people can still enjoy the outside. But but we need to find a solution for that. Okay, and then along with that, we did get a notification from our insurance company that the front walkway that leads to the back parking lot has a dip that goes down to the stream area. And that is potential trip hazard that they are recommending that we deal with. So I don't know if that's something that we want to address when we address the courtyard. It seems like that could be a good time to do that, but that is something we need to think about.
Is that because of erosion? Because that
No,
walkway was
it's,
put there
it's
like less
not,
than 5-6 years ago,
it's
right?
not the walkway that goes to the back, it's the actual, it's like right in front of that second sign.
Yeah.
And it dips down towards the stream. It's just the way it was designed.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Well, I think the hope is that when we get the estimates, then the Building and Grounds Committee, we can start to have a conversation about a plan,
Mhm.
and then we can bring it to the board.
okay.
So
Yep.
in hopes, we will have this by the next board meeting.
Mhm. Right, okay.
I will say, if we don't get the estimates, is it possible to get maybe more more people on board?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we could task our building manager, Bill, to go for RFPs. That might be a good idea. I kind of wanted to take it slow and
Mhm.
just get ideas from these folks to see what they would do if this was their backyard. So, but if we're anxious to move it forward, then we can certainly, put an RFP out there and go for that, and that would hopefully bring in more
Mhm.
bids. Um,
Don't we have to put out an RFP?
we would, yes, we
For
would.
certain dollars.
This was like, let's just see what they're
Let's just see
saying,
what they're
but,
saying, because we're not the experts
Mhm.
in.
right. I mean, the
George-
hope is obviously to fix the front walk as soon as we can, as well as get the courtyard up and running.
Right,
So
Right.
we don't, we don't want to be held back. So if it means an RFP,
yeah.
what do
I
you think,
think-
Jen?
Yeah, it's just that that's a lengthy process, as you know.
Yeah,
So what I was going to say is, George, should we take, when Jen has an estimate, should we take this into consideration and have a second version of the draft budget? 'Cause
Just
I
to
would
accommodate
anticipate-
this repair?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
If I was saying that, yes, well, I anticipate the dollars are going to be such that we probably need an RFP. If you're able to get an initial estimate that, and we all are of the belief that this should be addressed for 2025, and particularly the patio in the summer, then perhaps we need to look at the budget and make sure.
Well, this would be a capital expense. This would not be an operating expense. So this money would have to come out of our capital expenditures.
Capital council,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
which is where it should come from. I think.
Right.
Or
So-
reserves?
Right, right. And what we can do is we can say, let's just say the job is going to be $100. We can say, well, we're going to put $100 from our reserves
Mhm.
into a capital expenditure line, and that's where that money will be, that's where the bill will be paid out of. So, I don't think it should affect the budget as it is, because that's just the operating
Right.
budget. But I also, to go back to the RFP point, I want to have a sense of exactly what we want to do before we put an RFP out there. Because otherwise, I think we're going to get, if we have 5 different bids, we're going to have 5 different plans. And then there's no way to compare.
Correct.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that's my
Okay, so
thinking.
let's try and put pressure
Okay,
on these two.
okay. The annual report. Thank you to Robin Friedman for working on the annual report. It is all done, and it is currently with WLS under review, and the folks at WLS and Robin have been back and forth with just a couple of questions, but we should have it all set for you guys to vote on at the April board meeting. So the 2025 budget, we've already talked about. My next item was just to remind everybody that we have a book sale in May that's hosted by the Friends. We are very grateful to those folks for all their hard work and generosity. They allow us to do so many things here, including the fact that they have agreed to pay for the new exterior sign up to $28,000.
Fantastic.
Man.
So this
Fantastic.
is wonderful.
What's the date on that? May?
It's May, it's like a whole week-long process, but I believe, Robin?
The sale is open for friends on Wednesday, May 14th.
Wednesday, May 14th. And it runs through the weekend.
Through Sunday.
So when the Friends agreed to pay for the sign, they said
That's so
up to
exciting.
$28,000. We do need to double check that the electrical outlet there will allow for the wattage that's necessary. So Bill Link is going to do that this week. The estimate from Young's Equipment is for $28,510. So I am asking that the board approve that we pay for whatever the balance of this might be, including if we need to get some electrical work done before the sign is actually installed.
Are we getting other bids on this from anybody?
This is a state, Young's is part of the statewide contract. So they've already negotiated with the state, and this allows us to not have to go out to bid for other entities.
This is so exciting.
It is so exciting.
Huge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We
Do we have
thank
to
the
vote on that?
Friends.
Do we have to vote on this?
Do we have
28?
to,
I mean, I can give you
Vote under
a,
B and G probably.
you can,
okay,
and if you want to wait until next month when we have, well, you can approve that you'll cover whatever the balance is after the $28,000. I just don't know what the electrical might be.
Mhm.
It might not be anything. We
right.
just don't know yet.
We can vote on that under Buildings and Grounds? Okay.
Just attending to what you were talking about before about the book sale. Don't we have a community day coming up in?
Community days in the fall.
Oh,
September.
it is the fall.
Yeah.
September.
And then one of my last things, the TriCat electric panel, which the board had already voted to approve. It's about $11,000, or almost $12,000 rather. That was already approved. However, I would like the board to approve a capital expenditure line for this expense so that this does not come out of our operating budget, so that our accountants create a capital line. We put the money from our reserves into that line, and then when the bill comes, we pay that out of that capital expenditures line rather than paying it out of our operating budget. So, and then I have one more item, and this is it, I promise. We have an estimate from a plumbing company to correct the flushometers in the public bathrooms as well as the leaky faucets, which has been a thorn in a lot of people's sides for at least the last year. The estimate was for $3,700. So if this is something that we want to move forward on, I would need the board to approve that expense as well.
How many units are we replacing?
3.
4? 3?
We're replacing 3 flushometers and 4 leaky faucets.
And there's a maintenance,
That would be a
Flushometers, I
maintenance
asked,
and
but
building
nobody
repair.
got it.
maintenance. And I'm just saying, is this what we're talking about?
No, no,
Are
that's
what is
actually,
so
that's
expensive?
something else. That's already
Not
under
so much
buildings and
the leaky
grounds.
faucets.
That's for the roof.
For the roof, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind that.
Can you
And I
see this
believe that
question?
that's on the,
Are you constantly moving money in and out?
Yeah, I don't know why that is.
Just don't
it's
move
on the
it.
committee
Mhm.
reports. It's the first
You always
item
have to-
Yeah.
under.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
She wants to create a budget line specifically.
Okay. Okay, thank
So-
you.
Thank you. That's all I got.
So
I know it was
much.
a lot
No,
of
it's-
question.
No, I wanted to do a couple of shout outs. Is this the appropriate time to do some shout outs? Real quick.
Sure, of course.
Because I just, we don't always have the department heads come in and give their reports.
Okay.
So I just want to go on the record and give a shout out for the Children's Room, which had in the month of February 2,113 participants in their programs. Fantastic, amazing. My only question, Robin, is what's with Read to a Dog? We can't get people to come to Read to a Dog, right? Oh, it's Read to a Dog one-on-one. Okay, anyhow, because I was totally on board for Read to a.
How do you
Read to a
become, how does one become a dog that can be read to? How do you choose?
We have had a certain certified support animal. And actually she's a therapy dog, not a service dog. But so she's had training for dealing with this. Her owner. The two of them are a phenomenal team. And we support fluency and confidence. We do the program where they get to come in. Which is why it's a one-on-one.
Got it.
That's incredible.
Absolutely fantastic numbers. I also, another number I just wanted to throw out was the number 1,600, which was the building attendance for the month of February, which is over 500 people a day. If you divide that by the number of days, obviously more on some days, fewer on others, just astounding. I also want to say that today, because I was off from school today, I went to the Opera Appreciation Program that was run. Fantastic program, well attended. There were about 9 of us there listening to Kiri Takanawa for an hour and a half. It was fantastic. So thank you to the adult education program. Thank you to the children's program. Outstanding work. That's my shout out.
That's so nice. Thank you
That's
for
so
saying
nice.
that.
Thank you.
Standing
Okay,
committees. Yes.
George.
Nothing to add to the earlier report from Rocky Smith.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, on behalf of Building and Grounds.
Okay. So I'll start with the ones that we've included in the agenda, Jen, and then seek your help with the vendors, et cetera, for the other costs we've discussed. Okay, so first, I move that the board approve the proposal from Weatherproofing Technology, Inc., WTI, a subsidiary of Tremco, for their Tremcare Gold Maintenance Agreement, a contract for $15,000, $752.22 for 5 years, which would help us to maintain the life of the roof membrane that was applied 4 years ago to extend the life of the roof itself. And my understanding is that this would be billed on an annual basis. So it's not actually a $15,000
Correct.
one-time expense. It would be over the life of the contract. Do I have a second?
Second.
John? Any discussion? We talked about this when Lothrop presented, right? So this better enables us to hold to the warranty as well as maintain the quality of the roof. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous? Okay. Number 2, I move that the board approve our consultant Bill Link to create an RFP for replacing 2 air handlers in the library per Lothrop and Associates building assessment as presented in January 2025. And their findings suggested that all 4 needed to be replaced as soon as possible. It's more procedural rather than for an actual cost. Do I have a second?
Second.
John's put to the trigger again. Any discussion?
Yeah, this was going to cost around $500,000 for all 4, right?
Correct.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Okay.
And that the air handlers are separated in pairs of 2.
Okay. You have to do 2 at a time.
Right.
So it would make most sense to do 2 at a time. Okay.
All in-
Would
sorry.
we also hope that our energy costs would go down? with newer equipment, more efficient?
More
Yeah.
efficient.
Yeah, that would be a hope.
You hope,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Number 3, I move that the board approve the additional add-on proposal from Lothrop and Associates to continue to work with the children's room leadership and staff on an update to the children's room theme, design, etc. The additional fee is approximated at $2,000. Do I have a second? Brian? Any discussion? We've talked about this in prior meetings as well. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. Now, Jen, I'll call on you for assistance.
Sure.
First, we'll start with Young.
Uh-huh. So the motion
The
would,
formal name is YES. Is that right?
Young's Equipment,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'll steal the whole thing. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, I move that the board approve the proposal from Young Equipment for $28,510, recognizing that Friends of the Chappaqua Library has agreed to cover $28,000 of the cost, and that our library would have to pay any extra, which in this case would be $510 per this estimate, as well as potentially additional costs if we need to upgrade the electrical connection for the sign. And this is for an electronic version of what are now very analog 2 signs. We would go to 1 sign
Correct.
at the entrance.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a second? Sam?
Second.
Any discussion?
About where we will place it,
Mhm.
like which one will,
By the front door.
by the front door,
Right, where
okay.
it says
So the one
Chappaqua
that's still
Library.
working,
Correct.
the analog that's still
Right.
working, okay.
Right, yeah.
Okay, great.
And it'll be
And,
the same size, so.
and the other will be
will
taken
be
down,
removed, yep.
okay.
Yep.
This is really exciting, we've been talking about
So
this for years now.
Well, and it should free up our custodial staff to
Mhm.
be able to function,
Yeah.
focus on other things
And
within the
our
building
children's room
instead of
staff who has been doing the second sign for a number
Climbing
of
on
years.
ladders.
So I
Oh,
don't
great.
really want anybody on a ladder.
I love that line. Mhm.
That's great.
So,
It's
yeah.
very exciting,
Yeah.
and I think we all want to thank Friends.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
is excellent.
A
that
huge
they're
thank you to
supporting
the
us in this
Friends.
way.
Um,
Okay, and then there's one more.
Okay.
Wait, we have to take a vote.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Pam. Then there's the plumbing proposal.
So the plumbing proposal, okay, so that would be for
$3,700.
$3,700
I
Mhm.
think it's right here.
for,
Is this it?
yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
From Mealy Plumbing, MELE. And that would be to replace
I've got that, yep.
leaky faucets and flushometers.
Okay. I move that the board approve the cost of $3,700 for work as presented by Neely Plumbing to replace 3 flushometers in the 4 bathrooms at the base of our gallery walk near the entrance to the main courtyard, as well as 4 leaky faucets. And unfortunately, these have been a problem for quite some time. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah. Any discussion?
I'm glad we're getting
No.
this done.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Jen.
Yeah,
Okay, all in
Yes.
favor?
thank you.
Aye.
Aye. all for BNG.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jeff, in personnel, do we need a motion about investigating the notary insurance? Or we don't have to make a motion about that tonight? Okay,
I can just.
Okay,
look
great.
into it.
okay. John?
I met him today for the first time, Jacob, lovely young man. I move that the board approve the promotion of Jacob Demlow from library assistant to library one with a salary increase to $32.21 an hour, effective on Monday, March 3rd. Do I have a second? Pam, discussion? Quick question, Robin, is he the first, or no, not first, obviously, but is he now going to be one of the few men working in the children's department? Yeah. First in your time. That is a real asset. I really think that's great.
I would also like to add
Yeah.
that Jacob has a fan club,
Yeah.
so very enthusiastic
Yeah,
one.
no,
So
I
we're
think,
lucky.
gender diversity in the children's room is a really good thing, so
Oh, that's
wonderful. I'm happy to see that. That's really great.
Mhm.
Yeah,
This young man I met the other day when I was in, yeah, very nice
Yeah.
guy.
Mhm.
yeah, super. Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Good.
And Jen, there would have been a test involved with this?
So right now, Jacob is going to still be a part-time available.
Okay.
We have actually requested the librarian one and the children's librarian one lists from civil service, hoping that we can reach him to make him a regular part-time employee.
Okay.
We're still waiting on that list, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Next up, I move that the board approve the change of the employee status of Library Director Jennifer Dadio in her position as Library Director 3 from probationary to permanent status effective February 13th, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
Absolutely.
Second? Okay.
I don't know, I need some time to think about it.
Well, now's your time for discussion. I think this is an absolutely remarkable move, and I would like to just go on the record saying that this library is in tremendous hands under Jennifer's leadership, and of all the votes I've taken on this library, I've never been more certain of this one.
Thank you.
True, true.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Enthusiastically.
Yes, yes, super,
Mhm.
excellent. That's it for personnel,
Okay.
policy and bylaws.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's been a discussion on the board about fund balance policies. There's nothing to vote on today, but the board is in conversation regarding how it wants to express to the community its policies regarding fund balances. And I would imagine we'll have some clarity in upcoming meetings.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Good.
Moving to new business, Mark Kramer's offer to display of his model airplanes and insurance. We
Want me to
need-
flesh it
Yes,
out?
please do.
So we were, Mark Kramer, who's a Chappaqua resident and a former news correspondent, and has flown a lot of different types of airplanes all over the world with presidents and other people of note, has generously offered to share his display with us. And there was a plan already to how we were going to do that. We're going to have 2 display cases. We were going to set up a table in between with a video montage that would just keep cycling through. But the question that came up was that if unfortunately something were to happen, would the library cover the cost of whatever damage was done? So we checked with our insurance company. We have $1,000. They would cover this since it would be in our care, but we do have $1,000 deductible. So my question to the board is, would the board agree to pay the $1,000 would the library agree to pay the $1,000 deductible if unfortunately something were to happen to these items? So
Okay.
I don't know if you want to have a discussion.
Let's just, want to discuss this?
Sure. Do we know if the individual's personal insurance?
He has checked and his homeowner's insurance would not cover this, I think
Mhm.
because it's here.
Traveling,
Yeah.
right. It would be effectively traveling.
We can certainly,
His airplanes will be in the display. People will
Correct.
not
Right.
be able to touch them.
no.
Okay,
And those
it's a locked
displays are locked.
display, yeah, and it's
correct.
very difficult to open them, so it would,
Even with a key.
even with two keys.
Can I ask a question? The artwork that's hung out here,
Uh-huh.
right, has a certain value to it.
Correct.
Are we also liable for
That's a good
damage
question.
or theft?
I
in that
believe,
situation?
yeah,
I would think so.
So to some extent, it's the same situation, isn't it?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So we've already somewhat
So
crossed this
Are we,
bridge.
aren't we moving ahead with him?
But it's the first time, at least since I've been here, that the question's been posed.
Imposed. But the assumption has always been that the library's insuring the artwork that's sitting out here,
Mhm.
some of which is not inexpensive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we
Given
do
our
have
track
other,
record, it seems like we should be able to host this display.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I have no problem with it. I just,
Yeah.
if
For
there's-
some
Right.
reason, we ran into a series where we kept having insurance claims, and I think we might want to rethink it, but
right.
But we're
Well, you know,
not.
there are
so-
some members of the community that have rather expensive art collections and, it'd be interesting to have them on here.
Okay, so circling back to Mr. Kramer's
Yeah.
offer, you should do it.
Good,
Yes, it'd be nice.
It would be really nice. It's
Okay.
wonderful that he wants to share it
Yeah.
with us, thereby the public.
He's gonna handle the
Fantastic.
installation and
He's
shipping
gonna
of
work
everything.
with Larry D'Amico, who's our curator, and Amy Berger, who's an adult services librarian, who was also kind of talking through
Mhm.
how it was gonna be displayed and where it was going to be displayed. I mean, I think it's gonna get a lot of foot traffic to come through here because it's gonna be positioned right by the front door.
Do we also announce that on the website?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
And airplanes are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Okay, is
Good.
there anything
Jen,
else for tonight?
Our insurer knows we have our gallery, right?
They do. We've talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah. We also have some pieces that are worth a pretty penny that
Are
we
sold.
own. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Our next board meeting is Monday, April 21st. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all. And I move that the board adjourn this meeting at 8:19 PM. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? A vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.